Hello, my name is Jeff Jamiello, and today I'm going to talk about dreaming. Dreaming, it's kind of interesting because, what's dream? Dream actually is, depending on what you look up, it actually is an altered state of your mind. Some would say it's just random, your brain randomly thinking about things. Maybe. Some people, on the spiritual side, say that you're in touch with your astral plane or you're another plane of existence. Could be prophetic, could be whatever. What I have found in life is I have problems because actually rarely do I dream, which is a little bizarre, because people would say, if you read up on it, it is popular, you have to dream is what they say. You may not remember the dreams, but you have to dream. I do believe that. I do believe I do dream. It's just they're not important enough for me to care. That's kind of the way I look at it. But it kind of comes and goes. So there's a mechanism to dreaming that is weird, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about right now, because I don't think people really are aware. As a child, okay, I was beaten as a child by my adopted father. I acted out so much that during the summers when I wasn't in school, they would ship me off to my grandparents' house, which is in a different city, but it was like an hour away. So essentially they would drive me there and, I would get to basically be on quote vacation. And that's where I felt the most at ease because I wasn't getting beaten all the time and everything else. So that's one thing, is you have more dreams when you're at ease. And I use the word at ease for a reason, because a coworker that I was talking to made a comment about something, and I go, well, I said something about disease, and he kind of laughed, and he goes over to my whiteboard and he puts disease, D-I-S, and then E, in a space, and then ease. Yeah, your body is not at ease. Oh, never thought of that. Yes, that is correct. Even though he's a religious person, I go, but like, oh, that is correct. Because your body is not at ease, your body will manifest different things in your body. It's different ailments and everything because your body is not at ease. Dis-ease, disease. Same thing with dreams, oddly enough. When you're at ease, you dream easier. So what's interesting about dreams is when I was a child, I would sometimes have dreams, sometimes not. And the dreams I had were very different than they are now. Because you have to remember, back then, despite, I actually had no pressure on me. It's like, what am I going to do today? I don't know. It's when people talk about your inner child. Well, that's my inner child. What am I going to do today? I don't know. Maybe I'll run in the field today. Maybe I'll go over and go play in the garage and try to build something. Wild West. It's summer, you have no real schedule. Maybe some friends will come by and we'll go biking. I don't know. I said, there's all these things. And it's very funny because when you go over and look at it, you'd be surprised that everything affects dreams. And I look back now and say, well, here's a hint. A lot of things affect dreams. And over the years, I've kind of whittled out what happens when. Here's a good example. I had a dream, and it was a very fantastical dream, oddly enough. It's a dream that, call it inner child. There's no way around it. Where I was jumping on the couch, or a sofa, I think they call it now. Jumping on a sofa like you would jumping on a bed. And then I leaped off of it, and I was about to hit the ceiling, and I kind of slowly floated down, almost down to the floor, and then I floated back up, and then landed on my feet. Wow, that was fun. And I'm like, that's weird. Okay. Now, as I'm sure that means something. Now, what's interesting also is that I've also, over the years, have read, as I became an adult, I actually had to deal more and more with the world, had inner child gone kind of thing. Dreams go with it in a way. You got more things to worry about, and you could almost say your dreams kind of get a little bit more negative, a little bit more cautionary. It's like, okay, well, you basically look at it and say, I don't know what I'm dreaming about. It's just random stuff. Well, then you find out, I went in the military, and I used to smoke, and in the military I used to actually snuff Copenhagen. And I found out that actually if I took some Copenhagen, put it under the lip, and went and took a nap, I would dream. It's like, oh, I could kind of force a dream. Like, really? So I would do that as often as possible. Now, what's interesting about that is the dream was always negative. It was like, and that wasn't evil per se, but it was always not good. It wasn't a nice peachy keen dream like, you had when you were a kid. It's like, no, it's weird things happen. And it's like bizarre, bad things happen. And you kind of dissect that a little bit and say, okay, well, why does that happen? That's just kind of weird. I go, but nowadays, actually, that's actually been documented already. And that people who got who quit smoking, you get the patch. The day you get that patch, you'll have nightmares from that day on. Because you have something in your body that's dripping nicotine into your system when normally you're not supposed to have it. Your body needs cycles to recover, to help itself. And it needs the fact that you don't have nicotine in there. So technically, if the patch is more convenient for you, however, the problem is it's also killing you. You just don't know it. And I say it's killing you because your body actually can't heal itself properly. No different than if you get that one with the, I think the women get it, the one with the birth control in there. Wait till you find the side effects of that one. That's a good one. Because you're doing the same thing. Your body is not actually supposed to have all those chemicals in all there all the time. And that's also, I said, you can say it about any vaccine, actually. But it's interesting because we don't really think about that, of what we put in our body constantly. As I said, I know about that because of the Copenhagen thing. Then I got it and I heard something, on the radio or something about if you eat an apple before bed, you'll have nightmares. I'm like, really? Let's see. Let's test this out. So for a couple weeks, I ate like 2 or 3 apples a night before bed. Still didn't dream, didn't have nightmares. It wasn't until, I would say, about 3 years ago, actually, that I found out the answer to that. It was during the fasting, actually. I found out that your body takes a lot of energy to digest. It takes approximately 60% of your calories go toward just the digestion process. So if you're fasting, you're not doing any of that, your body can use those calories for other things. And your brain is free to do whatever it wants to do at this point. You're kind of free from thinking about this digestive thing that has to happen. Even though we don't really think about it, but it leaves more calories for other things. Let's leave it at that. So, from a dreaming perspective, it is accurate. You will have nightmares. Because I said, when I've fasted, I have more dreams. And it has to do with, spiritually, it has to do with your spirit team talking to you. Because the more pure you are, the more spiritual, the more pure you are, the easier it is for them to communicate with you. And they have a lot to say. And they usually speak through dreams or fragments of dreams. So, but there's a lot of actions that we take that we don't really realize. And over the years, by talking to people, I've talked to people briefly with people who have a lot of prophetic dreams. And I pay attention to what they're talking about as far as what their schedule are, what do they do. And what I've found actually is if you don't eat past 6 o'clock, you get a lot more dreams. If you're at ease in life, you're not upset all the time, you get more dreams. And these dreams are not just, some of them may be prophetic, telling the future. Some could just be advisories. Hey, maybe you should look into this kind of business or that kind of, or don't deal with this person. Don't do that. That's your spirit team talking to you. listen. It could be God talking to you. Just don't listen. But yeah, as I said, dreaming is a very interesting thing because I've had prophetic dreams. I've had prophetic dreams that have nothing to do with me, which was odd. It's just like, oh, that's not a good sign. And there's some kind of dreams, you can usually tell if they're random because they're pretty random. It's like you're just walking around. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's happy-go-lucky. And it's just, and if you do a little bit of research, I did a little bit of research online, and I did a lot of research online, and found out that no one really knows why. Some say that it means if you don't have dreams, it means you don't live in the astral plane, or the other side of the fence says, oh no, you live all the time over there. You're in somewhere else. You're not here. There's people that actually will tell you that if you don't dream, that means you're not in your physical body here. You're somewhere else. It's one of those no one knows. But oddly enough, that's what's kind of good about the Earth School, is actually you don't know. We don't have any certainty on any of it, and that's the beauty of it, is there's no certainty. That means faith. It's like you have faith in God, you got to have faith in something. But I do believe dreams mean something. Occasionally I've had dreams, and I do know that dreams, especially stuff that comes from your spirit team, they're really heavily catered toward your timeline. Because I'll have, say, 3 or 4 dreams similar, with similar people in them, with similar person in them. Like, here's what's happening, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden, new timeline. Totally different scenario, or slightly different scenario. Sometimes different person, sometimes same. Don't know. But slight change to that, like, here's the new plan kind of thing we got for you. Which is interesting because it is my belief that a script is written, given to God, and we are chosen to be the actor of that script. And we come down here and we only know the first page of the script of this is how it's going to start. We don't know how it's going to end. But God read the script. And I believe that to be the case. And that's what's kind of funny, because when you got these timeline things, I believe that this script is for this timeline. But when you exceeded that, you went to a different script. So you're kind of like, it's kind of weird because you got different scripts. Almost like there used to be some puzzle books or something where you could go over and change your ending or something. You'd be able to go to page 15. If you want to do this, you go to 15, like, oh, look, this is what, and whatever action you took, you would hit with the marker and would say, go to this page. So you kind of changed you have a different story every time. And it was kind of funny because that's kind of how timelines work. You have a slightly different ending. It's just, which one are you going to get? Are you going to get your highest timeline or are you going to get the lowest timeline? Don't know. So you kind of just drift through life hitting these timelines. Anyway, has nothing to do with dreaming. Other than, I don't think anyone really knows that. From an action perspective, I do know that eating past 6 o'clock is a no-no. And oddly enough, you could actually say if you're not supposed to be eating, it's not that you can't eat. It has to do with the digestive process that's consuming so much energy. That's the problem. Because here's what I've also noticed, now I think back and think about it. If you have any romantic affairs and then go to bed, so it's not just eating, it's you've consumed a lot of energy, you don't dream that day either. Now that I think about it, I go, that would make sense too. So technically, in a way, a person who has a lot of prophetic dreams, is celibate. Maybe. We'll see. We'll test that theory. Anyway, we'll see. But I do believe that actually a lot of energy usage like that before bed kind of does that. Whether you have romantic relations with somebody or you do it yourself, whatever you pick. I don't want to get involved in that. But it does affect dreaming because there's a lot of energy went away. Just like if you're in a very noisy room, your body is just, it can't rest. Sometimes it may have to do with light too. What I've found effective is, and I've done this throughout the day, you get one of those little black eye the things to protect your eyes from sleep. And what I would do is I would actually lay on the bed. I have a dog, so the dog would lay with me. Hopefully the dog doesn't scratch a lot or anything. But I would lay down, I would close my eyes, and you would kind of see static. And what I've learned is if you stare into the static, the kind of, it's like black with a little bit of dark black or gray or whatever you want to call it. You kind of looks like static, like an old TV, except less white, more black. So you kind of see that, and you look centered at it, and your brain will start making shapes out of it. And one of two things is going to happen. Eventually, either you'll kind of put yourself into a dream state, or B, you'll just fall asleep. You'll have a cat nap for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's what I found happens. And it's interesting because technically it could mean you're in a different plane of existence too. You could be, in the astral plane. But I just thought I would mention that because I said that's kind of interesting because I kind of do that. Now, some other things that I've also learned recently is you actually can't dream if you're not comfortable per se. And I say comfortable with a little asterisk on it because it's what you deem as comfortable. Example is I cannot dream, being homeless in a car in winter. I can't actually dream when it's really, really cold. My body just uses all the energy to keep warm. It says, no, you're not doing squat. I'm not giving you nothing. And it does that because I don't know if it's a defensive mechanism or whatever, but it just says, nope, I'm not giving it to you. It's more important that you actually stay alive than actually to have a dream. So essentially it takes energy to have a dream, despite it's all in the brain, so to speak. But I do believe that dreams are communication mechanisms. I do believe that our ancestors talk to us that way. I laughed. I said, my ancestors, they must be a fan of cartoons because every time they want to talk to me, it's always cartoons showing me something. It's showing me something, and it's ones I've never seen before. So it's not like it's cartoons that I know. It's just like they're like cartoon figures, and it's like they must love showing this stuff. If my spirit guides show me something, you could say it's more. It generally doesn't involve me. In other words, I'm not in the actual dream, usually. So it's not prophetic in any way, but it's kind of showing me something, but looks more realistic. As I said, guardian angels, don't know. I don't believe they actually deal with us via dream. So I believe they're the ones that just pop stuff in your head. It's kind of like the Holy Spirit and then the Lord and Jesus. If they want to talk to you, they will talk to you. Just all of a sudden out of the blue, boom, right there. And you weren't even thinking about it. Just here's a name for you. Use this for the name of your company. So yes, dreams are very funny, very, very funny. What's an interesting point about dreams is what I've noticed is as you heal, you have different dreams. You don't get traumatic dreams. You don't have anything like that. That kind of goes away. Once you accept something and you forgive yourself and heal from events, you don't get re-traumatized in your dreams like that. Because once you heal and you take acceptance and, it is what it is, I can't do anything about it. Once you accept that, it's like your whole person actually accepts that. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing really to do with the dream. If you're a victim of, say, child abuse, once you accept that and heal from it, there's nothing a dream can traumatize you with anymore. See, technically, a dream is also a test, I guess, to see if you've progressed enough. I've had those before too. One of the more famous ones is I had one about a year ago. And mind you, I've not seen my wife in 10 years. She's toxic as heck. At this point, it's considered abandonment, by the way. So, after 7 years, it's considered abandonment, Lonnie. But I was popped a dream in my head, and I freaked out. In the dream, I woke up. I was horrified at my action in the dream. And really, the dream, it's all it was. Is they showed a picture of her when she was, when we first met, and it was like at a bus station. She was getting off a bus, and I was in the bus station. It's like, oh, you can't let her in here. I was talking to somebody. You can't let her in here. You can't let her in here. She's toxic because she'll destroy everything, kind of thing. And the woman, or the being I was with, kept going like this, put her hand on her ears, and said, "Up." Basically, listen to the music. Raise your vibration. And I'm like, oh. And I woke up from that dream, and I was like, I was upset at how I was in the dream. And it's like, wow, that's shocking. And then I go on over, and literally a couple months ago, similar, my wife's picture when she was young popped in my head, and this time I said, I want nothing to do with you. I wish you the best of love and luck. Goodbye. Peace, calm. Didn't have any repercussions when I woke up. So I'm assuming I passed the test. That's testing to see how you're going to react to something, which could mean eventually I'm going to have a face-to-face confrontation with her. And it's just gauging how emotionally I've healed. So sometimes we get dreams to gauge how we heal, and maybe to force us to heal. Because when I had that first dream, I was more panicked that it was 10 years ago. Why is it still bothering me? So I had to dissect that. And I think it bothered me because I had a level of trust with her. I trusted her. And I said, I'll be honest with you. I really don't know if I'll trust anyone ever again. I go, but the Lord says I have to. So I will. But I have to be really, really cautious now, because it happened. Now, the good news is it's easy to actually get my, trust. So you just have to, kind of jump over the hurdles and pass the hoops, and you kind of win. But that's my story on dreaming. There's a lot of things that affect dreaming. Alcohol is always a good one. You keep drinking, and you're going to have a lot of problems in your dreams. So there's a lot of things. Pay attention to what actually affects your dreams and what they mean. Not all of them are prophetic. Some of them are just nonsense. But usually I do believe that everyone has dreams, even nonsense dreams. There's something in the dreams. There's some truth to the dream. It's more symbolic at that point than it is anything else. One other thing about dreams in general. Things in dreams. There's two schools of thought. When you dream of something in a dream, example is, I have dreams every now and again about having a gun in a dream. Now, some books you look it up and says, oh, that means, something to do with child abuse, or something to do with, being a sexual predator, or something with your penis or something. It's very weird that they come across some things. I go, but usually the context I have a gun in is for protection. And really it boils down to is, in your core, what does a gun mean to you? I go, to me, it means safety. So anytime I have a dream with a gun, it's referring to safety. It's not referring to weird behaviors. So that's what you kind of got to remember. It's like I usually have dreams about my teeth falling out, oddly enough, where I'm sitting here talking, all of a sudden, spitting out my teeth, whole teeth. And you look at the books, and oddly the book, that's actually a good omen. As crazy as it sounds. It actually means that your life is on even keel and you're going well and you're going to be making money. Even though you would think that, you're spitting out teeth, you're going to have to go see a dentist. That's not what it means. It's a dream of contrary. And actually, there's a lot of them like that. But I haven't had that one in a while. But that's dreams. I think everyone should actually have a journal of their dreams. Usually, I don't write my dreams down. What I do is, right now, I write just a little blurb about it, enough to trigger the memory to recall the whole dream. Because heaven forbid you write it all down and someone finds it and wants to write a story about it or something, about your dream life. Trust me, more entertaining things have happened in life. But that is dreaming. I thought I would share that because not everyone dreams. I understand why. Some say you spend, if you don't dream a lot, you don't spend a lot of time on the earth realm. So, they say that you have a piece of yourself lives in the spiritual and a piece of yourself lives in the earth realm, which makes sense. You can live in more than one realm. It's like you more than one timeline. So the question is do I spend more time here, more time there? But just to bear in mind that the more not at ease or dis-ease or not at ease you are, the harder it is to dream. And you should write down your dreams and find out, what are you dreaming about? What do your higher selves want to tell you? What does your spirit team want to tell you? What does the Lord want to tell you? A lot of times you'll get, here's the plan, or here's a piece of the plan, here's the next stage of the plan. So you're not, because, I'm pretty sure my spirit team wants to keep me abreast, but there is a weirdity where certain people are allowed to see your dreams, by the way, too. That's another twisted state of affairs. Just like your thoughts aren't private either. Because some, the Lord gives benefit to other people to kind of pick your brain. Kind of eavesdrop, so to speak. So, if you got a protector, I'll guarantee you they're listening to you. They're looking at your dreams. And by the way, for those that are unaware, it is a spiritual crime for you to break into someone else's dream, as a lot of people have found out in my life. I've had a couple of people that have broken in, and they've gotten some serious karma for that. That's a spiritual crime. That puts you in spiritual jail, which means you have negative side effects down here on the earth plane while you're in spiritual jail. So, for those that aren't aware. But have a great day.